Good morning. Today we are going to discuss about is group dynamics, and I am going to talk about group dynamics especially from the perspective of a learner. And then we are also going to touch about slightly small group discussion and a large group discussion. What is a small group and what is a large group? What are the benefits of teaching and learning in small group, and so on and so forth. So a group of learners is it's a number of individuals which form a group. A number of individuals assemble together to learn with some unifying characteristics. So they should have some unifying characteristics, and those characteristics should be such that should promote learning, that should encourage learning, that should help in learning. So two things are important: number of individuals and unifying characteristics, or the characteristics of the learner which unite them to act as a group to learn. Now, what could be the number of students assembled together that you can call them a group? Broadly speaking, you can divide groups into a small group and large group. Now, what should be the number of students which will constitute a small group, and what will be the number of students which will constitute a large group? That we will discuss later on. More important than that is to understand what are the characteristics. So if the learners are group individual members, if they participate actively in the learning process, if they interact face to face, interaction, they can see each other, they can listen to each other, they can see the facial expression, because a major part of communication is not through words. Not only this, they all have assembled for a purposeful activity, and not only for a purposeful activity, they have come somewhat prepared for that, and during learning process, obviously, they have time to think. Just to summarize, the characteristics of students that promote learning in a group are active participation, face-to-face interaction, clearly defined task. They should be focused on a specific task, because unclear objectives can cause frustration. Preparation related to the specific task, and reflection. It is an important aspect by which experience is turned into learning. Now that's the issue. You see, these are characteristics: active participation, face-to-face contact, purposeful activity, thorough preparation or reflection. May not be thorough, some preparation and reflection. And here is the number of students. Now, as the number of students is going to rise, the students are not going to experience these, or they are going to experience these less and less as the number is going to rise. Because as the number is going to rise, then few students may be missing active participation, difficult for a face-to-face contact, purposeful activity could be lost. The chances of purposeful activity being lost becomes more. Since there's a lot of people are talking and the time is limited, so therefore the time of reflection also becomes less. There's a great controversy: what number will actually constitute a small group, which we call a small group in teaching and learning. Exley has given a very good classification describing the numbers. student-led small group discussion. Usually, if it's a tutorial, there are 4 to 12, typical student number, seminar 10 to 25, and problem-based learning group 8 to 12 students. This is the typical student number when teaching and learning activity is occurring in a tutorial, in a PBL group, or a seminar. Small group teaching in large group. They extend from 10 to 100. For example, in group practicals, they may go to 100. In problem classes, sometimes they are 10 to 50. In workshops, they are 10 to 40. So therefore, simply speaking, a small group teaching, a small group for teaching purposes, or a small group for discussion purposes, it is usually from 4 to 12. But as it rises, it can rise up to 18, 16. But we know this thing, as the number is going to rise more than that, then the characteristics which the learners should have and they should experience and they should show in their behavior, that is going to become the less, and that is going to affect the learning process. If you have to compare between small group teaching and large group teaching, in fact there is no comparison. Small group teaching has a lot of advantages. For example, students can negotiate meaning, they can understand much better in small group, they can establish a contact with the teacher, their communication skills improve in small group teaching because they are participating by means of communication, and that participation results in improvement of skills. They are working as team, so team working skills increases. And since they are establishing contact with the teacher, they are aware of what other students are saying. They in fact can monitor their own learning. Similarly, there are advantages of the teacher also. Teachers know students better. Teachers see, for it's easier to increase interactivity by the teacher. Easy to gauge students' level and their understanding, because we are small students. So for the teacher, it is much easier to get feedback and know what their understanding is, and that helps them in teaching or facilitated learning. And overall, from the perspective of result, if the teaching is done in small group, the students tend to score more marks as compared to if teaching is done in large group. Whenever a group forms for the first time, and a group is going to form, whenever a new member is going to enter into that group, that may be teacher himself, that may be a facilitator himself, or that may be a student himself. There is a natural history through which the dynamics of the group goes. How the group socially interact with each other. So let us see the stages of group dynamics, which are 5. So the first stage is forming, because the group is forming over here.
Young, need love, like the shadows on your face. If the great away shall fall, I'll fall upon us all. That between the sand and the stone, but you made it all wrong. If I could, then I would.
formed, the people don't know each other. The teacher doesn't know the student doesn't know the teacher, and they have fears, they have anxiety, they have positive expectations. So when the group is forming, much psychological processes are occurring in the brain.
Gone, we love like the shadows on your face. Every away.
Okay. Now after first stage 1, which is forming, the group moves to the second stage. Let me show you the second stage. It has got an interesting name, storming. And the storming, you're going to get an idea, there is some storm. You must have got a fairly good idea. The group, when this goes forming to storming, what happens? Now you must be understanding why initially in a group people are arguing more, people are fighting more, people are getting upset more, people are not liking more, and so on and so forth. Once a group goes through this phase, then it tends to normalize, and that is called as norming group or norming stage.
Spending the day Sometimes things can be hard. Should know by now. They come when they go so why? Oh, why do I look to the other side?
You see, as the group is norming, productivity is increasing. Now we are talking about productivity in terms of learning. Now once norming has occurred, now the real learning starts. Now the real enjoyment in learning starts. And unless you don't enjoy learning, it's hardly one learns anything. That is the performing stage. Maximum learning occurs in performing stage. Maximum enjoyment in learning occurs if the group is in this stage of group dynamics. Obviously, after this is stage 5, which is called as adjourning, means the task has been completed and now the groups disperse, and that is usually a sad moment where the group members leave each other with happy memories. Now the thing to remember is, in group dynamics, forming stage, performing stage and adjourning stage, they always occur in a sequence. Norming and storming they tend to vary. Sometimes in a group, storming occurs little earlier and norming occurs later on. In other, it reverses also. It can also happen in group dynamics. A group may be going through two stages simultaneously with one component showing a major flare. So that is what is usually happening. The important thing is, there are certain behaviors in the group members which block the learning process, that group members or the teacher should identify. These include a student which is interrupting off and on, tends to change the subject if a discussion is going, tries to defend his opinion beyond reason, attacks reason of other person, speaks to only one or two and not to the whole group, and even if disengages himself from the learning process. At the same time, there are certain behaviors which facilitate the learning process. They include clarifying. If there is a confusion, then the group member is trying to clarify that thing. Agrees with opinion responds to topic, proposes solution, gives in, summarizes, and speaks to all. There are huge educational and social implications. So during learning experience in a group, it is essential for the group members or the teacher to encourage and help the group to reach to performing stage as early as possible. And that can be done in the forming group by respecting each other, giving value to each other, by forming the rules. Rules formation helps a lot to move the group dynamics from one stage to another. The group members should encourage the behaviors if they see in a member which encourage the learning. At the same time, the group members, and obviously if a teacher is there, he is a member of that group, they should discourage those behaviors in a member which does not promote learning, but obviously in a very gentle way, in a smiling way, with positivity. This is also very important. Okay, in the initial phases, when the groups are forming, do not form judgment about the members. He's like this, he's like that, he's like that. No. Because when a group is from forming goes to storming, and the people are storming, in fact, they are not showing their true self. It is for that moment. The emotions are hijacking their actual self. Their limbic system is becoming so active that it's affecting their EQ. They are not their actual self the whole time. I hope this helps you in understanding group dynamics and enjoying it. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Have lovely moments. See you again.